Yeah, I don't want to be in that seat anymore. Meetings go really, really long if I sit here. At this point. I've never been in that one. I moved to
Test, test.
started. I moved to space.
Good, how about you?
Turn them off. Students.
Ken Nygaard told me he was here.
Yes. Yep.
Have one in. Call the meeting to order. Let's see, we have some order of business here for visitors. Okay. All right. This is regarding public comment. At this time, the board will hear comments from the public. We ask each speaker who has signed up to the microphone and state their name and address for the record. We'd also like to ask that speakers refrain from using this forum to criticize or complain about a specific employee or name. The board is interested in your comments and will likely carefully and will listen carefully, but is not obligated to respond to or debate issues in this forum. Should you desire a written to a specific question, you may request it. This evening, each speaker will be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes. If any speaker wishes to talk later in the agenda, comments are limited only to the agenda item at hand. And speakers must be first recognized by only the park board president before coming to the microphone. Otherwise, the speaker may be ruled out of order and additional measures may be taken up to or including removal from the meeting. Getting tough here. The park board president, however, does not have to engage in dialogue with the additional speakers. We ask that you respect this request and act accordingly. We have before us the consent agenda. Would somebody, let's see, we don't need to approve the minutes if they go with the consent agenda. So would anybody like a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I think we have to
Aye.
poll the board.
Poll the board.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson,
Aye.
Commissioner Rock.
I would like to just make a comment. We have the recommendation and award proposal for your Uncle Farm on here for the master plan. And I just want to comment that the proposals were impressive. I was, when we read through them and what they presented to us, all of them, it's just their credentials and the projects they've done before are very impressive, and really excited to be working with Norris and who they bring to the table. So it'll be a fun next master plan.
Thank you, Vicki. Are there any participants that would like to come forth and make a public comment?
So we do have one, but he's on his way from tennis practice. So he's a tennis player, but also Boy Scout that wanted to come back. So if he can jump in when we have a moment in between, that would be much appreciated.
Would be fine. The director's report.
Thank you, Madam President. And tonight we will start down to my left, your right, and we'll start first with our Recreation Director, Kevin Bowe.
Good evening, Commissioners. We have 3 staff people in our audience that are being recognized tonight for the job well done. So Stephanie D'Ambrosio. Stephanie, want to stand up? She is part of the 22-23 FM Leadership Program. So that's one of 40 from around the FM area to be selected. We've had several other staff that have been part of this, but Stephanie from our department is recognized from this year. So congratulations. And she's really looking forward to the ropes course, right? Was that Friday? That's Friday.
Is it high ropes or is it? You'll be all right.
Next one is Randy Litchie. So Randy, you want to stand up? She is being awarded the NDRPA Outstanding Young Professionals Award that will be awarded at Minot next week. So congratulations to Randy. And last but not least, Broadway Square and Honorestus Peterson for the NDRPA Golden Egg Award, which is part of the Outstanding and Innovative Park Projects in North Dakota. So she will also be awarded that prize. I think Dave has taken that as representative from the Park District at the Minot conference as well. So that is my update. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So Kevin, you're saying we're filled with winners.
That's right.
Thank you.
Congratulations, all
Thank
3
you.
of you.
Yes, thank you. And congratulations to everybody. So thank
And
you,
they-
Kevin.
They didn't want to stick around, so great.
Wow.
All right, moving on to our next director's report. We'll have Carolyn Botain, our Enterprise Director.
Good evening, Commissioners. I have first wanted to let you know that we are fully staffed in marketing, and I have a couple individuals here as part of that I want to recognize. Kelly Kuntz, you met last week, our last park board meeting. Tori Benders is just started 10 days ago. Cassie Dahl also started that same day. Kylie Conwisher started a month after Kelly Kuntz, and they are all in the marketing department under Katie's leadership. So they are, as you can see, working hard at getting this streamed for us and communicating out the messages that we have for the community. Also this week, fall season passes are for sale at Fargo Golf, and those passes can be purchased at fargogolf.net. Looking into the passes and prices, or they can go to the actual pro shops. The courses are open until the mid-October or the end of October, depending upon the weather and which course. And then Courts Plus got new equipment on Friday. They have a new leg extension and leg curl, 2 pieces of equipment that are going to be located in the lower weight room. So that is what's going on in Enterprise.
All right, do we want to take a quick timeout?
Yes. I would like to introduce,
Nick Dawson.
Nick Dawson. Is your name here? Yes, and please proceed.
Nick, why don't you go up to the microphone?
My name is Nick Dawson, and I made dog park equipment at one of the Fargo Parks, dog parks, Brant Crossing, and I made 3 bridge ramps, 6 hurdles, and a total of 3 shade houses. That's a shade house, and the dogs can jump on it, or they can protect themselves from shade. That is a bridge ramp where they just run over it. And those are the hurdles. And I also had to dig, laid down sand, compacted sand, had 180 bags of Quikrete that I had to pour. It took forever.
180 bags. Very nice.
Thank you guys for all your support, by the way.
All right, thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Nick.
Nicely done. I got some concrete work in my backyard. If you,
That's what I was gonna ask him.
His help is not available for quite some time.
It's a tough environment to get concrete nowadays, so you have to mix it yourself.
thanks for coming in.
All right, we'll continue on with our director's report with Brian Arrett, our Foundation and Valley Senior Services Director.
Thanks, Dave. Just a reminder, and for people that are watching out in the public, that project was a proposal that the Park Board approved for a grant match. So partially funded by the Park Board, partially funded by other sources, like his mom and dad or something like that.
A lot of it was paid for by his scout account, which
There you
was
go.
selling popcorn and wreaths and working at the Shields Arena, so.
So a 50-50 partnership to provide these amenities for the public to use when they're out there with their animals, which is pretty impressive. Just a couple items for me. Number one, the job openings for the Valley Senior Services Director and the Foundation Director close tomorrow. I think there's about a dozen applicants collectively. So they didn't apply for both jobs together, but 7, I think, for Foundation, 5 for VSS. So that closes tomorrow at 4:30. Secondly, on the Foundation side, we received another verbal commitment, $100,000 verbal commitment 2 weeks ago now for the sports complex. Are in the process of getting the signed paperwork done, but they're going to start their payments this year. It'll be $25,000 a year for the next 4 years. So we're inching our way up. We'll get there.
Brian, can you say who that is yet?
No,
Not yet. Okay.
I'll wait until we get the signed agreement.
Sure.
And then we can release them.
Brian, you're not quite on the right page yet because we've all started calling it the complex.
The sportsplex, Parkplex. I heard somebody suggest the name Parkplex, which sounds impressive.
We're
to me.
gonna give you a pass because you were on vacation, but
And I think that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian, and we'll move on to Dave Beats, our Park Director.
Thank you, Dave. Good evening, Commissioners. I just have a couple of quick updates, both employee related. I reported in a weekly recap not long ago that we've hired a facility manager. If you remember, this was a position that was granted to us in this year's budget cycle. It took us this long to get through all of the steps to make that a reality. And I'm happy to report Mike Steffen started with us. Mike comes to us with a lot of experience in this realm of facility management. He did quite a bit of time serving as the director of operations, which is both inside and outside maintenance for the Grand Forks School District. He also spent more time recently over in Moorhead as their transportation director. So he comes to us with some very valuable experience that we'll be sure to capitalize on. The other one that I just want to touch on is Jody Busick, our administrative assistant for the Parks Department. Started back in the office today on a limited work schedule, so she's getting back to work. Many of you know Jody and know of her situation, but anyway, we're happy to report that she is starting to come back into the office and is looking forward to contribute with our department again. Thank you.
it's very good news.
Thank you, Dave, and we'll move on to Brock Leitz, our Finance Director.
All right, thank you, Dave. Madam President, members of the commission, a few quick updates here. So since preliminary budget approval at the last board meeting in August, the finance department has been working with the director's team and departments to just make sure that everything that has been submitted hasn't needed to change. There's some minor tweaks, which is common with the budgets, but we assure you that the total budget will not change, but there may be some line item adjustments between now and when we bring this forward to you in October 4th, and we're working through that with all of the departments. So look forward to moving that forward at the next board meeting. From a personnel perspective, we've had 2 reasons to celebrate / cry potentially maybe in our areas. So we had 2 retirements of long-term employees. Chris Creech, she retired on the 26th of August. She was the business office manager after 27 years of service to the Park District, and had an opportunity to say goodbye to her and celebrate her retirement a week ago Friday. And Amy Rasmussen, the payroll assistant, a 34-year veteran. We had her retirement party today. Her last day was today. Interesting little note about Amy. She started her career on September 6th, 1988, and celebrated her retirement on September 6th. So great loyal employees to the Park District, and wish them well as they move into retirement. So we had those in the last 2 weeks as well.
All right. Well, thank you, directors, for those updates. And it seemed like our theme was staffing. So I appreciate all those updates. And I will turn it back to you, Madam President.
At this time, we'd like to introduce Dan Farnsworth, Transportation Planner with MetroCog.
All right, well, thank you, members of the commission, for having me. I got a request to present who MetroCog is and what we do and how we collaborate with Fargo Park District. So happy to present a little bit of what we do and who we are, because not everybody knows who MetroCog is. So I'll get started here, and once again, privileged to be able to speak with you all, and enjoyed watching the forum prior to the election to kind of get to know who the commissioners are. So now I can see you in real life. All right. So anyway, go to the next slide here. Sorry. Oh, I need to turn it on. Excuse me. They gave me the lesson, but there we go. So just a little overview of MetroCog. So MetroCog stands for the Fargo-Moorhead Metro Council of Governments. And we were established as a MPO, which is a Metropolitan Planning Organization, in 1973. So we have been around for quite some time. MPOs are a federally recognized planning organization. Every metro area, which is a urbanized area with 50,000 people or greater, is required to have a Metropolitan Planning Organization. So we are the one for the Fargo-Moorhead metro area. There are 2 others in North Dakota, one in Bismarck-Mandan, and then one in the Grand Forks, East Grand Forks area. And then there's 8 in Minnesota. So just a little context of how that works. And then what an MPO, the main purpose of it is transportation planning. We also deal with any federal funding as it regards to transportation funds. And so that can also involve not just vehicular traffic and roads, but also can involve trails, bikeways, transit, and anything that deals with surface transportation, not airports, so surface transportation. And but since we are also a Metro Council of Governments, we can also do some other activities as well. Things like we currently have a food systems committee that we have, and back in the day we also had a mosquito abatement committee, which has been turned over to another entity to kind of do the mosquito control. We do have a staff of 9, and that includes 1 intern, so not a very large staff. And as far as our funding goes, it's a bit unique. We get 80% of our funding from a federal grant, which always comes in, thankfully. And then also the 20% comes from our local jurisdictions. So anyone within our planning area, Fargo, Moorhead, West Fargo, Dilworth, and so on. I'll show you a map on the next page. That's our building there. That's where we're located. If you don't recognize where that is, that's on the corner of 2nd Street and NP Avenue. Nice old building that we get to be in, just like you do here. We're on the 2nd floor, in case you ever want to come visit. So there is a map of our planning area. So you can see that really the core of what we work on is within the urban area, West Fargo, Moorhead, Dilworth, and Horace is really becoming part of it as well. But our planning area really does extend as far out as Hawley, Minnesota, Castleton, up to Argusville, and Barnesville, parts of just the rural areas, because that relates to commuting in and out of our area. We are governed or guided by a 16-member policy board, and our policy board is comprised of planning officials and elected officials. So, for example, we have all 4 Fargo City Commissioners on our policy board, and so it adds up to 16 total with all the other jurisdictions. And we have a number of committees that we also host. So once a month, we have our Transportation Technical Committee. And then we have, on a quarterly basis, our Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee. I have that highlighted in green there, just because that's what relates the most to what we do with the Park District and other park districts around the metro. We have one for transit, Metro Transit Coordinating Board, a GIS committee, which would be mapping, and then other committees as well. Some of the work that we perform, every 5 years, we are required to do a metropolitan transportation plan. And that, like I said, doesn't just include vehicular modes of transportation, but also includes bicycle and pedestrian, transit, and just all forms of surface transportation. We have a bicycle and pedestrian plan that we create every 5 years. And that is specific to the bicycle and pedestrian network. And we also have a transit development plan. Every 4 years, we update that. And we do a whole slew of corridor studies for the different corridors. As we know, Fargo is growing and traffic can become an issue. So we have US 10 in Dilworth we're looking at currently. We finished up a Veterans Boulevard corridor extension study. And then we also have Red River Greenway study that we're doing as well. And I will go over some of these with you. That's why they're highlighted in green. We also do some traffic counts and other activities like that. I'll just go back to the last slide. I forgot to mention, as far as the Bicycle Pedestrian Committee relates, we do have one member from the Fargo Park District, and that's Tyler Kirchner. He's our voting member, and he can always send a proxy if he wishes, if he's not able to attend.
Could I ask a question?
Yes.
I'm just amazed that you can do these studies every 4 or 5 years, because whenever it seems like I'm involved with a study, they'll say, oh, we'll have some results in about 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are able to do that within 4 or 5, does that mean you're highly efficient, or does it mean that there aren't a lot of changes that take place within your previous study?
Well, our studies are kind of high level. They're planning level. We don't really get into the design of, say, roadways or anything like that, or bikeways. It's an update more or less to the previous plan. And so I guess we're somewhat efficient, but it is a update to previous plans. And it takes about a year to a year and a half to do these plans, and then we kind of start the cycle over again. And that's what we do really, is a lot of planning.
Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, a little bit of collaboration with the Fargo Park District. Let's see, like I said earlier there, we do have a member on our Bicycle Pedestrian Committee. And then, this is for the Fargo Metropolitan Fargo Moorhead Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan. We have Tyler Kirchner as our member for the Study Review Committee. of that study. And we have I have a hyperlink here, but I think you may also have this as a PDF, but you can always go to our website, which is fmmetrocog.org, and that's our website, and you can click on the different studies and plans that we're working on, and you can see some of the work that we work on. And so the bicycle and pedestrian plan has been going on for about a year now, and it's in draft form right now. You can take a look at it right now on, let's see here, if you were to look at project materials, you could take a look at that draft plan, and I encourage you to take a look at the appendices as well, because there's a lot of good information in there. So you can see that plan, and we had a great amount of good interest with the public as part of this plan. And so a lot of people want to hear, wanted to see more. They love the river trails and other trails that can be extended in different parts of town and improved in other parts of town. And then the other study that you all might be interested in is the Red River Greenway study. And this study here, we've been working with the City of Fargo, Fargo Park District, and other entities as well, like River Keepers. And so this study here is about halfway through, and it'll be wrapping up here in about the end of this year, beginning of next year. And this is really interesting. If you wish to go to the website, you can take a look and click on this public engagement page on the project website, and you can see we have an interactive map that the public put their comments on. We have we have over 100 comments on there along the Red River of what they'd like to see, what they'd like to see improved. We got some comments on potential new bridges over the river, and so we realized that those obviously cost money and there's priorities, but we like to hear what the public has to say regarding those.
So Dan, in a project like this, it's on parkland, it's on city land, are there other properties that are involved, or?
There are, since we're looking at the whole corridor and seeing what's feasible and what's possible, talking with the VA, there's a great opportunity for a trail back there behind the VA. And so it's always a little tough working with a big entity like that, federal entity, but we have had some good discussions with them. And there's also private property as well too, and we know how difficult that can be. But as part of this study, we want to just get a feel for what's possible with what our limitations might be and what's possible. There's the country club as well, South Fargo, and that one would be a really tricky one. But we've talked to them, and we don't want to miss any opportunities. So we want to talk to as many entities as we can.
Very good.
And then some other work that we've done. Since I said we do work with federal funding, so there are grants that come through for different projects. And so here on the screen are two different projects that we've done with federal funding. Actually, there's been more, but these are just two that we're showing. There's a grant called the Transportation Alternatives Grant, which the City of Fargo, in cooperation with Fargo Park District and other entities, and the City of Moorhead, even in this case the bridge, have applied for. And so we work with them on getting that funding if they get the award of the grant by the state of North Dakota or Minnesota. There's the Dill Hill Path project that was funded in 2017 and recently constructed. And so we're happy to be part of that and see those come to fruition. I know they take a little bit of work and time, but they're great assets to have on Park District land. And and then other past studies there, I guess I was kind of skipping around there, but there was a FM Greenway master plan that would be outside of the City of Fargo. That would be looking at the diversion and what potential greenway there could be, and trails and other amenities along that. And we also did a Fargo Moorhead bikeways gap analysis study. That'd be both on-street bikeways and trails, and that came out of our one of our recent overall plans.
Could you speak a little bit more about the plans for the Greenway project for the diversion?
Yeah, I can. That one there, the idea there was with, with all the money being spent, all the effort, all the buyouts for the greenway that, not the greenway, but I should say the diversion, that there's just, it'd be a missed opportunity to not use it for something besides flood control. So some of the plans there would have different nodes along the area, say for different parks, trailheads, places to park, to get on the trail. And so the whole diversion is, don't quote me, actually about 30 miles or so, but so there's anything from landscaping to a single track type of a trail for a treadway type of for anybody who wants to hike. That was one of the plans, as well as shared use paths and park facilities. Even things could be, there could even be, say, ball diamonds along the way or something like that, other amenities. So it is kind of broad and vague, and it would have to be a entity, a pretty large entity to take that on and to oversee the whole thing. So there's some continuity throughout the whole greenway.
Is there interest by the National Park Service at all?
Not so much the National Park Service, but there's been some discussion with state parks. So that could be a potential entity, which would have the resources to do that.
I'm just wondering too, this is a totally separate question, whether there's any discussion at this point of a greenway along the Main Avenue project. There was a few years ago where it was considered to be the area right next to the track developable. But now, and there were at one time buildings that were disappearing because we were anticipating that that might be possible. And now we have a couple, at least one new building there. So I'm wondering if that project has collapsed or what's happening with it.
That's a good question. I've been involved in those meetings, and it's being led by the city of Fargo at this point and the state of North Dakota, since it's a state U.S. highway. But the way it's looking right now is, as much as I'd like to see it as well, to see a greenway along there, it sounds like just the cost and to get those buildings removed, and the project is scheduled for construction in 2024, so it's coming up soon, and the clock is ticking, and they're already getting the design plans ready on that. So it's looking like the buildings, most of the buildings will probably remain. So that effort of a greenway, which as much as we'd love to see, it probably won't happen.
It's unfortunate because most of those buildings are in really terrible shape, and it seems like if this were a time to do it, it would be now.
Right. That's correct. And like you said, there has been a few new, additions to some buildings too, and that makes it pretty hard for the city to eminent domain those.
Yeah, I think there's only one though.
Okay.
Yeah. The new Asian food market.
Yeah, that's the only one I know of as well. Mm-hmm. I'll move on here. If there's this is one thing I've been working on since I started at MetroCog nine and a half years ago, and I really appreciate the Fargo Park District's cooperation with this effort. So we purchased some bicycle and pedestrian counters back when I started about 9 years ago, and most people won't know they're there, which is good because we've had a little bit of vandalism from time to time. But anyway, there are a total of 5 in our metro area, and we're looking to put up maybe 1 or 2 more as this as our program advances. But you can see there on the left is, in this post, there's a counter hidden inside of there. It's just an infrared counter, so it's not a camera or anything invasive. It just counts body heat going by, and it works in the winter as well. It might count a deer if a deer goes by, but I don't think it happens terribly often. But this one here, this picture was taken after a flood, but this one here is on the Oak Grove side of the Oak Grove lift bridge. And that's our older style counter. And then over here on the right, we've also worked with the Fargo Park District in, well, first of all, I'd like to thank Fargo Park District for installing this one. We put the post together and everything, and just worked with, I think it was Dave Beats, if not Dave Leaker, on getting that installed. And so that was really nice for them to install that for us. This one here, we hired a contractor, got permission from the Fargo Park District. And this one here is more advanced, because if you look in the pavement, there are some cuts in the pavement that are sealed over top of them, but they can detect whether it's a bicycle going over there because of the metal of the bike. And then the counter, the post there can has the same infrared technology, so it can tell whether it's a bicyclist or a pedestrian.
You know, Dan, I've noticed that post at Oak Grove like many times,
Oh,
and I've
good.
always wondered why it was there.
Okay.
A random post sticking up out of the ground. Now I know. I'm gonna walk by it
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah.
next time I'm down there.
All right. We'll know when you're there. We'll see the data.
I think you're more accurately gonna bike by it. Dan, do we have access to that, or does the public have access to that information?
Yes, it is on our, we have a report that we, in fact, I think that's the next slide. I just have a picture of some of it. And on our website, and this is a bit of a maze to get through, you know, from one. So if a person wanted to see the data, we put out a report about every year or so. And then you can click on the resources tab, the planning tab, bicycle pedestrian planning, and then you'll find the latest count report. And so you can see all the data from that count. Plus we also do some manual counts every September. In fact, we'll be doing those next week at 16 locations around the Fargo-Moorhead area. And as far as the raw data, we'd be happy to even send that to people in an Excel format if they so choose to see that as well. So that can be requested. Here's just a little picture of a little graph of the data that we've gathered from the Milwaukee Trail counter, which would be the one right here. Now this data here was from before we had the newer post in. We had the older wooden posts there. And looks like, unfortunately, and that's why we got some new counters too. We're starting to miss some data here. We missed some data in 2021. But what's neat, what I'd like to show people is you can see the effects of how people were out more during COVID. This year here is 2020, and you can see 2020, 2020, 2020. So people got more use of the trails in 2020 during COVID. And so that was really nice to see them get out and about more.
Well, weren't we working on the trail in 21? Maybe not where that is, but yeah, I wondered if the spikes up there were 2020 or what year that was. That's really interesting to see.
Maybe that was the reason for the missing data. I know we've had missing data because of the counters, but it could have been the construction as well. And with that, that's all I have for my presentation. Just want to give you all an overview of what we do and how we collaborate with Fargo Park District. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions if you have any. If not, I have my contact information on the screen and phone number, and you can always contact me later if you wish.
Thanks a lot, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you all.
Commissioners, in your packet, the PowerPoint on the PDF, you can click on that. It should take you over.
Thanks, Carol.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay, we've got Brock Leitz, who's going to make a little presentation to us about employee one-time inflationary compensation.
Thank you, Madam President and Commissioners. We bring forward to you for your consideration and possible approval a proposal to award to all regular full-time employees a one-time inflationary increase to help us stay competitive in our ability to both attract and retain the highest talent possible for the Fargo Park District. This was presented at the Facilities Committee meeting on August 31st and had a good discussion about the proposal and the logistics. As you know, The current market is experiencing some unprecedented times as it relates to inflationary trends and increased costs, and also really a battle for employees amongst all entities, public and private. And so at the Park District, we do the best we can to continue to stay competitive in the market with our salaries. But as you also know, our salary adjustments are done as part of our regular budget process, and that takes effect January 1st of each year and runs through that calendar year. With the strain that we've seen in the market and our goal to try to retain employees, we're recommending a one-time inflationary increase to employees that would be paid, if approved by you, would be paid on the regular pay cycle September 30th of this year. And really our focus there is to try to help our employees at the time when inflation is the highest and the challenges are the greatest. Rather than waiting for January for things to catch up, we feel it's an opportunity to try to help currently while we're facing the most difficult times. We also would take a look at this being impacting the current 2022 budget. It's our recommendation that we would, as we pay for this in September, it would run against our regular salary line that has not been planned for in the budget. And as we would plan originally to take it out of our year-end general fund balance. And as we close out the year and we see how we're doing with revenue over expenditures, we would give you a more specific line item that we would look at adjusting. But at this time, we feel that this is something we can afford to do within our current budget. And if need be, we would take it out of the fund balance. The proposal itself is attached in your document, which really lays out the logistics, which were discussed at facilities. And because we do have a 6-month probationary review and also an opportunity to review salaries, it was the thought that we would have 6 months be the cutoff. And so the proposal that we bring forward for your consideration is that all regular full-time employees who were hired prior to April 1st of 2022 would receive a $2,000 one-time inflationary adjustment. Any employee that was hired after April 1st or later would get a prorated basis of that $2,000 based on the number of months they would be here. So anywhere from 1/12 to 6/12 of that based on how long they have been employed. An employee would have to be employed as of September 30th to receive the adjustment. And as I said before, we would plan to pay them. We have a regular pay cycle on September 30th that we would pay. Those employees who would not be eligible and who would really see the impact of the change of a significant increase in part-time wages are any seasonal employees. And, you know, we'll be coming to the end of the mass of our seasonal employees here in late fall, but we would give ourselves the best ability to attract seasonal employees next year when we make those adjustments to hourly rates, as we've discussed during the budget cycle. Any employees that we have that are considered franchise players, those are long-term seasonal employees that do receive some health insurance options, but are not regular full-time employees. And then any of our regular part-time employees also, they would be part of that change that we do with hourly staff would not be eligible. So this would really be an opportunity for us to focus on retention of our current regular full-time employees and try to help them at a time when times are the toughest in the local market. With that, I'll try to answer any questions you might have regarding this proposal.
I don't have any questions, but I would like to make a comment. I mean, early in the meeting, we recognized some outstanding work of our staff. And so, you know, based on that, it's the opportunity here to help in this unprecedented time with inflation, I think is, they deserve it. And they're working hard for this park district, and we can acknowledge their efforts and appreciate their service to us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think the timing is nice too, as you said, at the end of the season, and it was a busy season with a lot going on, and school starting now as well. So I think the timing of this is also helpful. And to me, I wonder, like, you know, 2,000, is it enough type thing? But I think the gesture of it is important, and it's, yeah, it's very important to show our employees that we're looking out for them and, you know, looking out for their best interests. So I agree. I'm fully supportive of this.
Yeah, when we started talking about it, it was how do we, do we do something for 2023? Well, that's how far off. And at the time, we were joking about the cost of a gallon of milk, and at the time, I think I said $4.50, and then we said $5.50, and then I saw a picture of butter at $7.69 a pound or something. So this was definitely, the conversation was, how do we help people now who need it, who, are trying to put gas in the car and buy school clothes and everything else. A raise is nice and well and good, but that's in the future. So it was a way that we could take care of our people now and acknowledge what they do for us in the community.
Would someone like to make a motion to approve?
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to approve the employee one-time inflationary compensation adjustment as presented.
Second,
I'll second it.
we need to poll? Or
Right.
further discussion, sorry. Poll?
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson,
Aye.
Commissioner Rosted,
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan.
Aye.
Thank you, commissioners.
Board is going to consider approval of an easement agreement between the YMCA Cass and Clay counties, the Fargo Park District, and the Metro Sports Foundation. Brett Brock will present.
Right, thank you, Madam President and Commissioners. Before I jump into that, I want to take the opportunity to thank you for the action on the last item. I think it's an incredible gesture for our employees, and for you to recognize that and be a part of wanting to help. Certainly appreciate your efforts in that regard. Agenda item number 5 is also was presented at the August 31st Facilities Committee meeting. We have several partnerships throughout the community. One of those is with YMCA of Cass and Clay County, as well as the Metro Sports Foundation that is operating obviously at Shields Arena in the facility that's located on Park District property. What's happening here recently is YMCA of Cass and Clay County is acquiring some land and is working on constructing a new daycare, and will have a daycare with parking. And as a result of that, we'll need an easement to access the parking that comes through the parking lot operated by the Metro Sports Foundation. Because we own that land, we are asked to be a part of that easement. That's why it is come in front of you. And what really will happen in this regard is this will provide opportunities both for YMCA of Cass and Clay County to build their daycare and have parking, but also provide opportunities for additional parking for Metro Sports Foundation and for the Park District. Should we have events out there in that area and need to have additional parking, it would grant us some additional parking as well. All of this construction and long-term maintenance, et cetera, is the responsibility of YMCA of Cass and Clay County. There is no additional cost to the Park District, neither for construction nor for long-term maintenance, snow removal, et cetera. And so this easement has been reviewed by our legal counsel. It's been reviewed by the legal counsel of all of the entities involved. And we would bring it to you for recommendation for approval. Basically, we're feeling like there is no harm to the Park District and really allows more access should we need it for events we have out there and have additional parking needs. Both Dave Leaker and I have been in communication with representatives from Metro Sports Foundation, which is the group we would work most closely with since they operate the facility on our property, and feel like this is a good opportunity for all parties involved. With that, I will stand for any questions you might have about this easement.
Sounds pretty straightforward. I'll make a motion to approve the easement agreement as outlined in the packet.
Second.
And for the record, I am on the board of directors of the YMCA, so I will have to abstain from this vote.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further discussion? You want to poll the board?
Commissioner Dawson,
Aye.
Commissioner Rosted,
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan.
Aye.
Thank you, commissioners.
It looks like we've come to the end of our agenda here. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we need a second?
I think
Katie,
so.
Katie, can you come up here once? I got a question.
Oh, up here?
Approach the bench.
We're not.
I always wanted to say that.
Wow. Apparently, we're not adjourned,
Okay.
or we are adjourned. Oh, sorry.
We are.
Sorry.
Okay.